Pute, good evening. Lamai, good evening. Lamai, clear the? Now, in first question, you need to identify the given diagram. So, number one, cross section of a parenchyma, cross section of a collenchyma, cross section of a collenchyma, and the longitudinal section of a collenchyma. Right. You can now look at this structure. May structure ka diha balanna. Okay. Right. Now, you guys can observe in this structure, you can observe some gaps, right? Them empty spaces ටිකක් බලා ගන්නත් පුළුවන්. And also you guys can observe is there any lignified cell walls here? පුතේ lignified cell walls බලා ගන්න පුළුවන්ද මේකේ? yes, මෙයාගේ lignified cell walls තියෙනවද? මොකද මේ දැන් සාමාන්‍යයෙන් ඔය clash වෙන දෙකක් තමයි මේ answer එකත් එක්ක ඔයාලා lignified cell walls තියෙනවා කියලා මේකේ observe කරනවද? මතක නැද්ද lignified cell walls මතකයිනේ? yes or no? ළමයි කතා කරලා කරමු ටක් ගාලා කරමු. කියන්න ඔයාලට lignified cell walls පේනවද පුතේ මේකේ? No. Okay. Then what about the nucleus? Is there any nucleus here? Is there any nucleus here? Yes or no? තියෙනවද? Lignified nucleus තියෙනවා. Not lignified nucleus තියෙනවා. Right? But no lignified cell walls මේකේ නෑ, but some empty intercellular spaces are here. Some intercellular spaces are here. Okay? Right, what else? තාම මොනවද තියෙන්නේ? Large central vacuole එකක් තියෙනවා නේද? Large central vacuole even. කොහමද තියෙන්නේ රවුමට? Large central vacuole and thin primary cellulose wall. Thin primary cellulose wall you guys can observe. So, no lignified cell walls. That means we can neglect sclerenchyma. We can neglect sclerenchyma. Okay. Then what about the answer here then? දැන් ඔය වගේ diagrams ඔය වගේ යන දෙකයිනේ අපිට බලා ගන්න පුළුවන් වෙන්නේ මොනවාද? parenchyma and sclerenchyma no? Right. What's the answer? Yes. Number 1. Yes. Number 1. ඇයි අපි number 1 ගත්තේ? explain කරන්න කිව්වොත් පුතේ අපිට කියන්න පුළුවන්. We can observe nucleus here and some intercellular spaces, non-lignified intercellular spaces, and a large central vacuole, and even the thin primary cellulose wall. Thin primary wall. Okay? Right. So the answer should be first one, the cross section of a parenchyma. Number 2, which of the tissue that transport water in the plant body? Very simple one. Water in the plant body. Xylem, cambium, phloem, pith. Yes, Lamai, what is the function of cambium? Anyone here? Function of cambium. Yes. පුතේ cambium tissue එක function එක මොකක්ද? main function is that they provide secondary growth to the plant. Provide secondary growth to the plant. That's the main function of cambium. Then the phloem, transportation of food. Transportation of food. And what about the pith then? Pith එකේ මොකක්ද තියෙන්නේ? Pith. Pith එකේ තියෙන function එක තමයි පුතේ transport nutrients throughout the plant and even store the nutrients within itself. Transporting nutrients throughout the plant and storing nutrients within those cells. Right, then putte, what about the xylem? So xylem responsible for the transportation of food and water and dissolved minerals. Water and dissolved minerals. So the answer here is xylem, second one. First answer. Okay, lamai. අපි කරමු third එකයි fourth එකත් කරන්න. ඉක්මන් කරමු. Third question and fourth question. Read well. Yes, lamai third එක බලමුද? Yes. පුතේ third එකේදී අහනවා which of the following are unbranched among the three types of muscles found in the human body. Now in human body we have skeletal muscles. Normally skeletal muscles are unbranched, right? Skeletal muscles are unbranched. And the what about the smooth muscles? Smooth muscles unbranched. Smooth muscles too unbranched. එතන first answer එක හරි වගේ නේද? Skeletal muscles and smooth muscles. But fourth one, hard muscles. අපි කියනවා cardiac muscles. What about the cardiac muscles? Branched or unbranched? කවුරු හරි කියන්නේ? Cardiac muscles. But the cardiac muscles branched, right? Cardiac muscles branched. Then the answer, first one, skeletal muscles and smooth muscles only. According to this given answers, the answer should be number 1. Okay, look at the Fourth question. Urinary bladder muscles is made of skeletal muscles. Skeletal muscles in the bane. Branch muscles. No. Branch na cardiac. No. Straight muscles. No. Definitely smooth muscles, smooth muscle fibers. But now the wall of the bladder is comprised of smooth muscle fibers which oriented in multiple different directions. Right? Then we'll move on to fifth one. Karan, fifth one. Hurry up, Putty, hurry up. Okay. Right. In which of the following are parenchyma tissue mostly present? මෙතනින් මොනවලද parenchymal tissues වැඩිපුරම තියෙන්නේ කියලා තමයි අහන්නේ. ඒක plant tissues වලින් එන plant tissues question එකක්. Parenchyma. Right. පුතේ parenchymal tissues කියන්නේ මොනවද? Now normally locations of parenchyma, cortex and the pith of plant stem, fleshy part of a fruit, leaves, pith and cortex of fruits and the seeds. Right? Okay, then according to that, Pute, parenchymal tissues are mostly present in coconut fibers. Number 1, coconut fibers. Number 2, cotton wool. Cotton wool. Veins of dicot leaves. Veins of dicot leaves. And the fleshy parts of the fruits. Yes. අපිට answer එක ගන්න ඕනේ පුතේ මොකක්ද එහෙනම්? Fleshy parts of the fruits. Fleshy parts of fruits. That should be the answer for the fifth question. ඔය ඔක්කොම අපි කතා කරා. Sixth question. Which of the following incorrectly states about the characteristic of sclerenchyma tissues? වැරදි එක incorrectly state කරපු එක. Sclerenchyma tissues. Right. We'll see. Consist of dead cells. Sclerenchyma වල dead cells නැද්ද? තියෙනවා. මොනවාද? Lignified cell wall. Now, normally lignified cells are dead cells. Dead cells. මොනවාද මේ මම පොඩ්ඩක් එක්ස්ට්‍රා දෙයක් කියන්නම් හරිද? මොනවාද මේ lignified sclerenchyma වල තියෙන function එක? They just provide for the mechanical strength and supports the plant body, right? Okay, then the second one. Lignin is deposited on the cell wall. Correct. Correct. Lignified. Those cells are lignified cells. Cells are tightly packed. ඉතින් tightly packed තමයි. Tightly packed තමයි පුතේ. ඇයි? හොඳ tightly packed වෙලා තියෙන no intercellular spaces. Fourth one එකේ අහනවා intercellular spaces are present. No, that's wrong. That's wrong. Right. කරන්න 7th එක. Very simple one, nah? මාරම ලේසි එකක්. හරිම ලේසි. දැක්ක ගමන් උත්තරේ ගන්න නැති. Okay, done. ඒක නේද දැක්ක ගමන් උත්තරේ එනවනේ පුතේ. මොකක්ද ආන්සර් එක? බලන්නකෝ first statement එක. First statement එක බලන්න පුතේ. Which of the common feature for both xylem and phloem? Right. කොහොමද දැක්ක ගමන් ආන්සර් එක ගන්න පුතේ? Normally xylem contains xylem parenchyma. Xylem contains xylem parenchyma and the phloem contains phloem parenchyma. Normally it acts as a storage of food, starch, latex, fats and etc. Xylem parenchyma helps in radial conduction of water and helps in healing and regeneration under water stress conditions. Okay, so therefore the common feature is the presence of parenchymal tissues. මේම හරිම ලේසි දැක්කනේ. දැක්ක ගමන් පුතේ ආන්සර් එක ගන්න පුළුවන් questions තියෙන්නේ. පොඩ්ඩක් පාඩම් කරලා එහෙම තිබුණා නම්. හරි? Okay. try කරන්න පුතේ 8th question. 8th question. Okay, we'll discuss. Simple question එකක් right. The animal tissue given in the diagram is a muscle tissue, epithelial tissue, nerve tissue or the connective tissue. Right? පුතේ මේ තියෙන්නේ මොකක්ද? Blood tissue එකක්. Blood tissue. So belongs to a connective tissue type. Belongs to connective tissue. Fourth answer. 9th question එක complete කරමු. පුතේ functions ගැන අහන්නේ. nerve tissues ගැන බලන්නකො ඉස්සෙල්ලම. So only two answers, no? Transportation of materials and the coordination. Coordination or the transportation of materials. Then එකෙන් හරි එක select කරගන්න. Then it's very simple. එතකොට හරිම simple වැඩේ. And then look for the epithelial tissues. Yes, very simple. මොකක්ද පුතේ nerve tissues වල නම් coordination should be the answer. Coordination. Okay, coordination. Then in epithelial tissues, no coordination in epithelial, no. Then contraction and relaxation, no. Main function, transportation of materials. Then lining up of free surfaces and protection. Yes, that should be the answer. But it protects the internal organs from friction, microbes and pressure, right? So then this should be the answer. Monadh, the other functions of epithelial tissues: secretory function, perception of stimuli, absorptive function, and even the filtering function. Now the epithelium of Bowman's capsule in nephrons filter the blood, no? So that belongs to the filtering function. Right, last question. Last question. Okay, done. Right, we'll see. Consider the following features. X provide support and connection between tissues. Y, cells and fibers are embedded in large matrix. Z, line up the free surface of the vertebrate body. Of the following features, the features of the connective tissues are connective tissues වල විතරක් තියෙන features මොනවාද මෙතනින්? Yes ළමයි, support and connection between tissues. Connective tissues support එකක් දෙනවද? Yes or no? Yes ළමයි, connective tissue support එකක් දෙනවද? Yes. එයාලා support එකකුත් දෙනවා and also connection between tissues. Why? Cells and fibers are embedded in large matrix. Yes, cells and fibers are embedded in large matrix. Yes, then blood ගන්නකො large matrix එක embedded වෙලා තියෙන. Yes, that's true. And the Z line up the free surfaces of the vertebrate body. Lines up the free surfaces of the vertebrate body. What about that? ඒක හරිද? Yes. Yes පුතේ? No නේ? Yes. Then what should be the answer? X and Y. Right. පුතේ hurry up and complete structured essay questions. ඉක්මන් කරමු. අපි අනිත් lessons තව තියෙනවා කරන්න. Hurry up. Hurry up පුතේ. Okay පුතේ අපි බලමු. Given below are diagrams of microscope views of two specimens taken from an and identified and name them. A. Very simple. කවුද? Structure of a neuron. Structure of a neuron. And the B. Cardiac muscle tissue, right? Cardiac muscle tissue. Intercalated disc තියෙනවා, nucleus තියෙනවා, and also you can observe the plasma membrane. Right. Then the second one, there are special tissues to transport substances in animals. Name a tissue that transport materials in vertebrate body. In vertebrate body material blood ගන්න පුළුවන් blood tissue. Blood tissue. Right. පුතේ කරගෙන යන්න මේ question number 1 එක ඉවර කරන්න. හරි අප්පා ඉක්මන් කරමු. Hari, lamai will discuss. State two other functions performed by the tissue mentioned in the above question. අපි මොකද්ද කලින් question එක? Blood. Blood ගැන කතා කරේ. මොනවද? First thing, next one, protection. White blood cells in our blood destroy the foreign bodies, maybe microbes, by phagocytosis, by producing antibodies. Then next one, දෙකක් අහනවනේ. Transport of respiratory gases, nutrients, hormones, excretory products to the relevant organs. Fourth one, state two structural differences between smooth muscle fibers and skeletal muscle fibers. Right? With the muscle tissues, we can divide into three groups now. Smooth muscle tissues, cardiac muscle tissues, and the skeletal muscle tissues. Right? Then another about this smooth muscle tissues and the skeletal muscle fibers. Right? So the now in smooth muscle fibers, when you compare the smooth muscle fibers over the skeletal muscle tissues, normally the skeletal muscle tissues are spindle shaped, but the skeletal muscle tissues are cylindrical unbranched cells. Okay, and best thing is smooth muscle tissues are controlled involuntarily, while skeletal muscle tissues are voluntarily controlled, and they are fatigate very easily. Fatigate will very easily. But what about the smooth muscle tissues? Do not become fatigue quickly. But skeletal muscles fatigue. Okay, next one, fifth one, state the characteristics which you use to identify tissue B. Tissue B කියන්නේ blood. මොකක්ද? අපිට identify කරගන්න පුළුවන් කොහොමද? Very easily. Yes. With it composed of fluid matrix. ඒක එකක්. And that matrix contained different types of cells, RBC, WBC, erythrocytes, leukocytes, and even platelets or the cellular fragments. Write three functions of epithelial tissues. 6th question. Epithelial tissues. Okay. What are the functions of epithelial tissues then? Yes. With the epithelial tissues, normally the epithelial tissues are lined up in the free spaces or the free surfaces. Maybe internal, maybe external in our body. Right, in vertebral body. So some of them are composed of a single layer of cells and the others are with the several cell layers. Right? So Puti, now you guys can observe nucleus in tightly packed cells. Nucleus on tightly packed cells, and you can observe basement membrane here, basement membrane 2, right? Okay, then Puteva, what are the functions of epithelial tissues? Filtering function, secretory function, like as example like mucus by lining epithelium of the respiratory tract, and the absorptive function, perception of stimuli, like the tongue and nose can detect the taste and the senses. Then put a lining up of surfaces and protection, provide protection. Good examples for the functions of epithelial tissues. ළමයි මේ ටිකත් කරන්න. හරියප්. second question එක කරන්න. හරියප්පා. ළමයි හරියප්. හරියප් ළමයි. Okay, that's enough now. Huh? Number one, the classification of number two, the classification of plant tissues shown in the following chart. Plant tissues can be divided into permanent tissues and the meristematic tissues. Yes. So then the simple permanent tissues, we can divide into three groups, three types. Another is collenchyma, parenchyma, and the collenchyma. Complex permanent tissues we can divide into two groups. But basically the phloem and the xylem tissues. And then the meristematic tissues, again into three: lateral meristem, apical meristem, and the intercalary meristem. Intercalary meristem. Right. Mention three characteristics of meristematic tissues. Meristematic tissues. Three characteristics of meristematic tissues. Right. What are meristematic tissues? Normally, meristematic tissues are responsible for the growth of plant, right? Okay. So, the growth of plants take place due to the activity of these tissues. And what are the features of meristematic tissues then? No chlorophyll, even though it's plant cell, no chlorophyll. Large number of mitochondria are present here. There is a those tissues consist of small size living cells and no intercellular spaces, and the if any, intercellular spaces are not prominent, right? These sort of things. Hari. පුතේ අපි ඊළඟ එකට move වෙමු. මේකේ තව essay question set එකක් තියෙනවා. අපි ඒ උනාට ඊළඟ එකට move වෙමු. මොකද නැත්තම් අපි ඒකත් කතා කරන්න ඕන නිසා. හරි? ඔය මම ඔය lesson එක ටිකක් වෙලා අරගෙන ඔයාලත් එක්ක කතා කරේ. ඔයාලට ඔය first lesson එක නිසා ටිකක් අමතක ඇති කියලා හිතලා. ඕකේ ළමයි. second lesson, second unit. පුතේ දැක්කනේ MCQs ටිකක් කතා කරනකොට සෑහෙන ප්‍රමාණයක් cover වෙනවා ඔයාලගේ theory. හරි වාගේ theory ලොකු ප්‍රමාණයක් cover වෙනවා මේ MCQs discuss කරන්න ගත්තාම. කරන්න up to sixth question. I'll give 4 minutes. Hurry up, huh? Right, Priti, finished? Yes, we'll discuss then. Okay, we'll discuss. Number one, which of the following statement is false regarding photosynthesis? Question number one. Okay. Carbon dioxide gas is produced as a byproduct of photosynthesis. That's wrong. It's a product. Sorry, it's not a product. It's raw material. Second one, photosynthesis can be done naturally. Yes, that's true. Solar energy is essential for the photosynthesis. Yes, why not? Fourth one, light energy, water, carbon dioxide and chlorophyll are required for the photosynthesis. Yes. Normally, carbon dioxide and water considered as the raw materials. Light energy considered as the energy source. And the chlorophyll is the site where this reaction results. Then the answer first one. Carbon dioxide gas is produced as a byproduct of photosynthesis. Number two. What is the food type that translocates to storing organs? Translocate. What is the meaning of translocate, Puti? Yes, මොකක්ද meaning එක translocate කියන්නේ අපි? No idea? But the translocate mean moving from one place to another. Moving from one place to another. මම ආන්සර් එක නැතුව මම ඔයාලට පොඩි විස්තරෙම කියන්න. මතක් කරගමු. පුතේ now with the aid of this photosynthesis it's just create a glucose C6H12O6 and stored temporarily in leaves but as starch. As starch. Then part of the starch is converted into sucrose. Part of the starch is converted into sucrose. C12, H22 and O level. H22 and O level. And transported into the other tissues with the phloem. So then the answer should be sucrose, right? But this sucrose, which is transported to the storing organs, are again stored as starch. Again stored as starch. For the answer for this second one, sucrose. Third question, what is the byproduct of photosynthesis? Oxygen. Oxygen is the byproduct. Glucose is the main product. Next one. Into which energy solar energy is converted to during photosynthesis? Chemical energy. Second one. Fifth one. What is the transportation method of energy of soil water into the root hairs? Into the root hairs. Right? By osmosis. By the process of osmosis. With a complete කරන්න 6th question and the 7th question. Right, but the sixth question. When a leaf is tested for starch, plant should be taken after keeping in dark for 48 hours. The reason for this is that to destroy cells in the leaves? No. To dissolve chlorophyll in the leaves? No. To remove stored starch completely from the leaves? To provide extra carbon dioxide to the leaves? But to remove stored starch completely from the leaves. Third one. Last question. Which of the following statement is correct regarding the photosynthesis? Number 1. Carbon dioxide diffuses into leaf through veins. Number 2. ඇත්තද carbon dioxide diffuse වෙන්නේ veins වලින්ද? අහන්නේ correct එක. Normally through the stomata, right? Not through the veins. That's wrong. Number 2. Water in the soil is absorbed through the root hairs by the osmosis. That's true, right? That's true. Third one, photosynthesis involves to reduce the atmospheric oxygen level. No, that's false. Carbon dioxide and sunlight are the raw materials needed for the photosynthesis. No, carbon dioxide is okay, but what about the sunlight? Sunlight is the energy source here. Sunlight is the energy source. Complete current up to a 10th question. Right, we'll discuss, ne? Right. Eighth question, the byproduct of photosynthesis. Oxygen is diffused into the atmosphere through what? Yes, Lamai? Number 1, veins. Number 2, stomata. Number 3, root hairs. Number 4, buds. Yes, through stomata. Next one, ninth question. What is the tissue involved in transporting products in photosynthesis to storing organs? What is the tissue involved in transporting products in photosynthesis to storing organs? Collenchyma, xylem, phloem, and the collenchyma. They transported through the phloem tissues. Number 3. 10th question. Which of the following is not an importance of photosynthesis? Number 1, the light energy is converted to chemical energy. Number 2, helps to maintain oxygen and carbon dioxide balance in the atmosphere. Number 3, helps to maintain the carbon cycle. Number 4, carbon dioxide is accumulated to the environment by photosynthesis. Right. The fourth carbon dioxide is accumulated to the environment by photosynthesis. Varadini? Carbon dioxide is not accumulated to the environment by photosynthesis, right? It just consumes carbon dioxide and produce oxygen. That's wrong. පුතේ අපි එක essay question එකක් කරමු. Complete this one. තමයි මේක මේ මොනවද essay question එක හරියට කරන්න. ප්‍රති මේකේ ආන්සර්ස් ටික ලියන්න බුක් එකේ යා. Okay, we'll discuss. පුතේ අපි discuss කරමු. Right. Plants are very important for existence of the living world. Following setup indicate main biological process related to plants. Right, now just a simple plant and 2 leaves are selected, covers with transparent bags. One leaf contains a certain amount of potassium hydroxide and one contains H2O or the water. So what is the main objective of this experiment? What is the main objective? In order to make a conclusion or statement on that photosynthesis required carbon dioxide gas. Photosynthesis are required carbon dioxide gas. Question number 2. Mention one precaution that should be followed before start the above experiment. Mention one precaution. Right. So now in this experiment, first of all, you should place this plant in a area with full of light. In an area with full of light. Okay. Right. So now අපි දන්නවා in this sort of experiments you should place that plant nearly 48 hours in a dark area to remove all the stored starch in that plant leaves, temporary stored starch in that plant leaves. So by placing this setup in dark area for 48 hours, you should add some amount of potassium hydroxide and the H2O, and then only you need to place this in direct sunlight or the area with direct sunlight. And one other thing, so you should supply all the other conditions except this potassium hydroxide and water balance to both of these leaves, right? Then right, next පුතේ explain the reason for doing the above setup or the step. Right, so above step mean second one. So placing this plant, I just mentioned now, placing this plant in the dark area for nearly 48 hours will remove all the stored starch in that plant leaves. Fourth one, how can you confirm that the above objective of experiment was successed? Yes, but now we can confirm it. We can confirm it with the results here. So you will observe that results or the observations here, that no color change in leaf with potassium hydroxide or the KOH, and the dark purple blue color or blue color with leaf with water. Next one, what are the observations that can be obtained from the above activity? So that's the observation, and what we can conclude then. But now potassium hydroxide, or what we call the KOH, will continuously react with carbon dioxide or the CO2. This will produce potassium carbonate, K2CO3, and water. This will produce potassium carbonate and the water. So the potassium carbonate and the water means no carbon dioxide in these leaves or the controlled or the closed environment which contains potassium hydroxide. But in the other hand, the setup which contains water contains both carbon dioxide and it receives sunlight plus water from this plant root system through the xylem tissues. So now all the requirements for the in order to fulfill the process of photosynthesis is here, and then what will happen? This will produce, I mean the leaf with the water will produce, will resolve, will synthesize glucose and it stores as starch. Okay, so that's the simple explanation about this experiment. B. The chemical process related to transpiration is given below. Transpiration. C6H12O6 mean glucose. 6O2 mean 6 oxygen molecules. 6 CO2 means 6 carbon dioxide molecules and 6 H2O molecules or the water molecules and the energy. So the number 1, calculate the number of glucose molecules in 45 grams of glucose. 45 grams of glucose. Right, we'll calculate. We'll calculate then, huh? Right. Yes. First of all, we'll write the chemical equation. C6H12 O6 plus 6 oxygen will result 6 carbon dioxide plus 6 H2O plus energy. So we can neglect this energy since it's a kind of energy, not a matter. Right. Calculate the number of glucose moles in 45 grams of glucose. 45 grams of glucose. Right. But in order to calculate the number of moles, first of all you need to calculate the relative molecular mass of glucose. Relative molecular mass of glucose equals 180 grams. 180 grams. කොහොමද calculate කරේ? Carbon 12, hydrogen 1, oxygen 6, oxygen 16. So by multiplying and get the summation, you will end up with this sort of answer. So it's very simple. Right. So now this is the relative molecular mass. 118 grams per mole. So as we know, 118 grams per mole, 118 grams per mole explain itself 118 grams per mole. Per 1 mole, there should be 118 grams of glucose. 1 mole contains 118 grams. If you guys really need to get 1 mole of glucose, you need to weigh out 180 grams. 180 grams. So that 180 grams contains 1 mole of glucose. Not only that, we know that 1 mole of any substance contain 6.022 into 10 to power 23 amount of matter. In this case, 6.022 into 10 to power 23 amount of molecules. So simple, right? But now in the question itself, you need to calculate the number of glucose moles in 45 grams of glucose. Now, if this 180 grams contains 1 mole, 180 contains 1 mole, this equals 180 divided by 45. It's 4, right? It's 4. But in order to calculate the amount of moles, you should divide 45 by 180. 45 by 180. So you will easily end up with the answer like 0.25. So 0.25 moles. Very simple. Now in 45 grams of glucose, if you guys count, you can find out the 0.25 amount of moles. So if you need to calculate get the numerical value, or I mean the how many glucose molecules here, just divide 6.022 into 10 to power 23. You better multiply by 0.25. So then you will end up with that answer. So from this calculation you can find the exact number of glucose molecules in 45 grams. You can simplify. Right, that's about the B first question. Then the B second question. What is the mass of carbon dioxide that can be obtained by burning 90 grams of glucose? Now you need to calculate. Now you guys need to calculate the mass of carbon dioxide. That can be obtained by burning 19 grams of glucose. Right. But then normally once we burn any object, it will react with the oxygen gas. It will react with the oxygen gas. So here solid, here gas, and the carbon dioxide mean also gas, and then the here water mean the liquid. Water means the liquid. So this is the combustion reaction. This is the combustion reaction. So you guys need to calculate what is the mass of carbon dioxide that can be obtained by burning 19 grams of glucose, right? So you need to burn 90 grams here, 90 grams of glucose. By burning 90 grams, right? By burning 90 grams, what's the ratio? If you guys burn one glucose molecule here, it will result 6 carbon dioxide molecules. It will result 6 carbon dioxide molecules. Then the ratio 1 to 6. 1 to 6. So simple. Then just calculate how many moles of glucose in 90 grams. But the relative molecular mass is 180 grams. So 180 divided by 2, 180 divided by 90. So it's the value 2. Sorry, very sorry. 90 divided by 180. You will end up with 0.5 moles. Okay. Then now you will burn 0.5 moles. 0.5 moles of glucose. If you guys really burn the 0.5 moles or the half a mole of glucose, you will end up with the 6 times. You will end up with the 6 times of that. That means you need to multiply 0.5 into 6. This will equals the moles. 0.5 into 6 means 3 moles. So by burning 90 grams, you will end up with 3 moles of carbon dioxide gas. You will end up with 3 moles of carbon dioxide gas. Clear? Right. Okay. You will end up with 3 moles of carbon dioxide gas. Right. Right, ළමයි one more thing. ඒක මේ lesson එකේ නෑ. මේ tute එකේ නෑ. මම මේක පොඩ්ඩක් grade 10 එකක් වාට revise කරන්න. අමතක නා. Now just calculate now just imagine this is a closed system which contains glucose. You can apply this for any other molecules, right? So the relative molecular mass equals 118 grams per mole. So this contains 360 grams. 360 grams. Number 1. Calculate the amount of moles of glucose. Number 2. Number 2. Calculate the total number of hydrogen atoms. In the above closed environment. What is the amount of moles hydrogen in above setup? I'll give 2 minutes. Very simple question. විනාඩි දෙකෙන් හදන්න. Hurry up. Very simple question. මම ඔයාලට ලේසි වෙන්න relative molecular mass දීලා තියෙනවා. No need to calculate the relative molecular mass, already given. Try it. Simple. Try කරන්න. Try this. Normally it's from this part from your grade 10 lessons, 10 chemistry part. Grade 10 වල chemistry part එකකින් ඉගෙන ගත්තේ. So simple. No rocket science here. Hurry up. Another 1 minute. Hurry up, Lamai. Okay guys, we'll discuss. Right, we'll discuss then. Nah? So simple. මේවට බය වෙන්න එපා. හරි? Right. මොකක්ද කියන්නේ? Calculate the amount of moles of glucose here. Now amount of moles. පුතේ මෙච්චරක් මෙන්න මේක දැනගන්න ඕනේ. පුතේ අපි දැනගන්න ඕනි if you just weigh out the relative molecular mass, the mass equal to relative molecular mass or the mass equal to relative atomic mass of any substance, molecule or an atom, so that contains 1 mole of substance. So that inside that 1 mole, how many molecules? 6.022 into 10 to the power 23 amount of molecules. So that's what we call the Avogadro's number. Don't mess up this molecule and mole, right? Molecule එකක් කියන්නේ මේ වගේ එකකට. This is a molecule. Mole එකක් කියන්නේ 6.022 into 10 to the power 23. That's a numerical value here. Okay, right. So calculate the number of moles of glucose, number of moles. Relative molecular mass 120, then 360 divided by, I simple idhar hadanne, 2 moles here, 2 moles in here. මේක ඇතුලේ තියෙන 2 moles. Then calculate the total number of hydrogen atoms in the above closed environment. Total number of hydrogen atoms. Now we just calculated the total number, total amount of glucose molecules. No, numerical value එකක් දෙන්න පුළුවන් කොහමද? 2 moles කියන්නේ 6.022 into 10 to the power 23 into 2, no? You can multiply this by 2. Amount of C6H12O6 molecules. So simple. Then now you need to calculate the number of hydrogen atoms in this closed environment. Hydrogen atoms in closed environment. So one number of hydrogen atoms, no? So 1 mole contains 12. So 1 molecule contains 12 hydrogen atoms, no? So then it contains 12 hydrogen atoms. So easily you guys can multiply 6.022 into 10 to the power 23 by 2. Why? I දෙකෙන් වැඩි කරේ ඉතින් moles දෙකක් නේ 2, and then multiply this by again by 12, all together 24. 6.022 into 10 to the power 23 into 24. This is the value of hydrogen atoms, total amount of hydrogen atoms here, right? Okay. Then next one, what is the amount of moles of hydrogen atoms in hydrogen in above setup? දැන් මෙතන මෙන්න මෙයාගේ මේ තරම් ප්‍රමාණයක් තියෙනවානේ මොනවද hydrogen atoms. So inside this how many moles? Relative atomic mass of hydrogen equals 1, no? Hydrogen කියන්නේ එකනේ. So then මෙතන තියෙනවා 6.022 into 10 to the power 23 into 24 amount. හරි ඒක පැත්තක තියන්නකෝ. මෙයාගේ තියෙනවා 360 grams. 360 grams තියෙනවා. So that 360 grams contain how many hydrogens? කීයක් තියෙනවද? How many? Normally මෙතනින් යන්න නැතුව මේකෙන් කරන්නත් පුළුවන් ඔයාලට. ඒ කොහොමද? You can simply, how many moles, no? 6.022 into 10 to the power 23 mean 1 mole, no? ඒ වගේ 24 තියෙනවා. I think 24 moles. So simple. මම මේක ඔයාලට මේ පොඩ්ඩක් මේක ඩිස්කස් කරේ පුතේ. ඔයාලට මතක නැහැ මේ the relationship between the mole Avogadro's number relative molecular mass or the relative atomic mass. මේවා මතක තියෙන්න ඕනේ. All these things are interconnected. All these things are interconnected. If one gone, it's not possible to continue from that point. All wrong then. All wrong. Right. ඉතින් මේ වගේ දේවල් චුට්ටක් බලා ගන්න. ඔයාගේ exercise book එකේ, I mean the your textbook, grade 10 textbook part number 1 refer කරන්න. Some calculations were there. Please calculate. Please calculate these sort of things, right? Okay? Right. Hari. Hari. පුතේ ඔයාලගේ chat එක බලන්නකෝ. chat එකට යන්න. පුතේ පොඩි පේපර් එකක් තියෙනවා උතන. හරි? මේ පාර්ට් එක ගොඩ දාගන්න ඕක කරන්න. මේකේ තියෙන්නේ තියරි calculations නෑ just theory. ඕකේ තිබ්බා මේ පොඩ්ඩක් මොනවාද? ඔයාලට තිබුණ නැති terms දෙකක් ඕකේ මම ඇඩ් කරලා තිබුණා. මොකක්ද දන්නවද? 10th question and 11th question. Gram atomic mass and gram molecular mass, you can neglect that. Simple things, but you can neglect. මොකද exam ඔයාලට උගන්නන්න නැති නිසා exam එකේදී අහන්නේ ඔයාලට. You guys can neglect this. මේක මේ A level කට්ටියට දීපු එක. හරි? ඒක neglect කරන්න අනිත් ටික කරන්න. Not now, but as a homework. Okay then, we'll wind up, right? Okay, for the next time එකේදී අපි start කරමු මේ lesson එකකින් start කරමු. Next week most probably lesson එකක් කරමු. We'll see. Right, Enang, all the best, huh? Yes, good night. Good night, then have a nice week, huh? We'll start the second term next time.